G'day guys and gal. Crusades in Warhammer 40k are usually pretty fun for the good guys. The Great Crusade reconquered the galaxy for mankind. The Indomitus Crusade brought back the Imperium from the brink and beat back the darkness of chaos. But not all crusades are a good time for the good guys. The Shadow Crusade was a horrific campaign by the Wordbearers and World Eaters that completely and painfully genocided dozens of innocent worlds in Ultramar in order to fuel an extremely spicy chaos ritual. Every person that died fueled the ritual, with people that died in fear and agony adding extra fuel to the flame. Billions of non-combatant men, women and children butchered by the sons of Angron, whilst Lorgar's kitty fiddlers did even worse. It was easily the most shocking string of war crimes in the entire Horus Heresy. Not even Conrad Curse got close to their tally of violations, and he tried really hard. The Shadow Crusade had an extremely spicy ending as well, something you don't want to miss out on. Before we get started, the developers of the new Rogue Trader 40k game reached out to me and gave me 100 private beta keys to give to you guys. This isn't sponsored, they just gave them, I didn't ask. So I thought, why not do a stream today of Rogue Trader by Owlcat Games in which I can give out those 100 private beta keys to you guys. I was thinking of just basically plopping some in the chat, and then whoever donates will get some PM to them as well. Wins all round. I'm planning on starting the stream soon after this video goes live, so when you're done here, feel free to pop on over and check out the latest Warhammer 40k game. I'm very intrigued by Rogue Trader and I'm hoping it's good. Haven't played it yet. Today we'll go over the Shadow Crusade, detailing its purpose, its key battles, what it accomplished, and how it finally ended. Let's get into it. When the heresy broke out, Lorgar became a bit strange and obsessive with chaos. He may have had his moments where he seemed reasonable or sane, but no, like he was fucking cooked the entire time. However, don't mistake cookery for foolishness. Lorgar and Horus both knew that in a fair fight, the traitor legions didn't stand a chance. The loyalist forces were just straight up better, and it didn't help that chaos had fractured the sanity of many traitor forces. Hence why the traitors did the Isstvan massacre, and why Lorgar attempted to cut the galaxy in half with a mega warp storm that would prevent most of the loyalist forces from reaching Terra in time to save the Emperor. Creating a mega galaxy sundering warp storm isn't that easy though. Lorgar had to do a lot of shit to achieve it. He devised the plan. By going to Ultramar and causing an extremely high amount of death and suffering, the warp could bleed into real space and create the Ruin Storm, the Super Warp Storm. To do this, Lorgar enlisted the help of Angron and his World Eaters. Now that might sound like a shitty idea, however no one causes death like Angron does, and Lorgar saw that Angron's brain nails were killing him, hence he wanted to try find a way to save Angron during their time together. The Shadow Crusade kicks off by Lorgar sending Erebus, Corpheron and 50,000 Wordbearers to attack the Ultramarine world of Calth, where the Ultramarines were gathering in force, unaware that the Wordbearers had come to fuck them up. The goal was to overload Calth's sun using Calth's orbitable weapons network, flensing the planet of life and massacring the Ultramarine Legion as well as Guilliman. At the same time, Captain Zadkiel, as well as one of 3 Mega Abyssal class warships, a warship greater than even the Gloriana class which Lorgar had commissioned in private, went to Macragge to take out the capital of Ultramar. Lorgar and Angron would then divide their fleet further to cover more ground whilst they took both their flagships and the remaining 2 Abyssal class ships to attack Armatura, more or less the Ultramarines' barracks, home to their most elite warriors, weapons and training facilities. It was quite literally called the War World and was considered to be unbreakable. By devastating these 3 key worlds, as well as dozens more that would be taken out by the splinter fleets that Lorgar and Angron had sent off, they could create a string of cracks in real space that upon completing a final ritual would bring forth the Ruin Storm and also kill the Ultramarines Legion. Overall, it was actually a pretty fucking good plan, easily one of the Traitor Legion's best, that could and nearly did win the war for Horus. However, the plan didn't take one key thing into account. Nobody fucks with the Ultramarines in Ultramar and gets away with it. Captain Zadkiel and his Abyssal class ship was destroyed, thanks to the effort of a small force of loyalist World Eaters, Space Wolves, Ultramarines and even a loyalist Thousand Sun, saving Macragge. Whilst the invasion of Calth was devastating and killed a lot of Ultramarines and even achieved their goal of overloading Calth's sun, which irradiated the surface of Calth, an insanely sick counterattack by Guilliman and Remus Ventanus turned the tide and resulted in the death of most of the Wordbearers, with the survivors who went underground getting hunted down and massacred as well. Nearly all 50,000 Wordbearers who attacked Calth were killed. Funnily enough, this was actually part of Lorgar's plan. Those 50,000 Wordbearers were the ones who were more obsessed with killing Ultramarines than actually serving chaos, so Lorgar was happy to suicide them against the Ultramarines, making it pretty clear that Lorgar was sick of Erebus and Corpheron as well. Fair enough, I would be too. So with one failure and one half success, it was important that Lorgar and Angron beat Armatura. Using their 2 Abyssal class ships as well as their 2 Gloriana classes, they were able to overcome Armatura's insane orbital defense network, and then beginning landing forces on the ground. They heavily outnumbered the Loyalists, however the Ultramarines on the surface were some of the best, and they had a shitload of extremely well-trained and disciplined mortal soldiers, as well as multiple Titans. The fighting was obscene, with a shitload of World Eaters dying as the smaller, more disciplined Ultramarine forces continually baited them into traps and kill zones. At one point, Angron got lured into a trap and an entire building was dumped on him. In his frenzy, he tried to dig himself out, but only managed to dig himself further underground. Fucking idiot. Seeing that his brother was literally gonna dig his own grave, Lorgar came to the surface to try dig Angron out, whilst the World Eater librarians began to psychically communicate with Angron to tell him to stop digging towards the world's core. With Lorgar so fixated on saving Angron, he opened himself up to be shot by a Warhound Titan not once, but twice. He was able to block the first shot with a psychic shield, but the second broke through and burnt him really badly. The Titan then opened up with its Mega Bolters, punching holes in Lorgar and knocking him off his feet. As the Titan went to stomp on Lorgar, Angron finally freed himself and blocked the Titan's foot, holding it up and allowing Lorgar to crawl to safety, before a Titan on the traitor side arrived and took out the Warhound. In terms of wholesome traitor Primarch moments, Angron popping the galaxy's fattest hemorrhoid to save Lorgar is up there. Armatura had fallen, but it was not a clean victory. Thousands of Wordbearers and World Eaters were dead, with both Lorgar and Angron being a flick of a dick away from oblivion as well. However, in return, the Ultramarines' greatest fortified world was broken, leaving Ultramar mostly undefended. Despite this, the Ultramarines were not broken. Most of the survivors of Calth put together a ragtag team of dozens of battered warships, as well as over 100,000 Ultramarines, and went off in pursuit of Lorgar and Angron. At a similar time, whilst many worlds in Ultramar fell without too much drama to the splinter fleets of the Wordbearers and World Eaters, not all of them did. On Astagar, 600 Ultramarines were able to wipe out an entire battle group as well as a demon warlord titan, saving their world and killing thousands of traitor Astartes. On Percepton, an overwhelming force of traitors quickly overwhelmed the loyalist defenders. However, the Ultramarines waged a guerrilla war and were able to bait the traitor army to them as they exterminated their own world, killing themselves but many times more traitor Astartes. However, even with the Ultramarines' ultra girth and surprisingly solid resilience, the Shadow Crusade was succeeding. There were many cracks in real space, and Lorgar could hear the warp song getting louder and louder. He just needed to complete a final ritual to break it open and call forth the Ruin Storm, but he wasn't sure what the ritual would be. All he knew is that he needed to do something dramatic. While he was thinking about it, he decided to take Angron to Nysiria, Angron's homeworld, to try figure out a way to remove the Butcher's nails and save his brother's life. This part is actually pretty tragic and wholesome in equal measure. Angron had been extremely fatalistic and didn't care about his own life. Lorgar begged Angron to let him help save him after all they had been through. Angron finally relented and agreed to let Lorgar try. Despite how degenerated Angron was, the warp flight to Nysiria was the best he had ever been. He hung out with his men, bantered with them, and was the Primarch they had been begging for years. Khan remarked that Angron had spent more time with his legion in the months leading to Nysiria than he had in the many decades prior. Angron, for the first time since the Emperor had taken him from his brothers and sisters, felt hope. However, just like everything in Angron's life, that hope went to shit. Upon arriving at Nysiria, it was revealed that they had no idea how to remove the nails, and that the legend of Angron was actually really embarrassing. The tale went that Angron fled like a coward on the eve of battle and let his army die. In reality, he was ready to die with them, but the Emperor had kidnapped him. This version of events sent Angron into a rage, where he ordered his legion to kill every single man, woman, and child on Nysiria. Fair enough, people can't talk shit about you if all the people are dead. Halfway through the genocide, Guilliman's fleet had finally caught up with the traitors. On paper, Guilliman looked fucked. He had about 41 or so battered, mismatched, smaller warships against 2 Gloriana-class ships as well as one of the Abyssal-class ships. However, by using a swarm tactic, Guilliman was able to surround each of the megaships and cut them off from each other. The traitors had fuck all escort ships or fighters, as those had been sent off across Ultramar to wreak havoc. Hence, the Wordbearer's Gloriana ship, the Fidelitas Lex, was given a death by 1,000 cuts and fell to the world as a wreck. The Conqueror was then boarded, with the boarding action severely wounding it. The Abyssal class fared better, but was still damaged. Despite a massive effort by Lodtara Sarin, captain of the Conqueror, the Ultramarines finally punched through the traitor fleet and began landing on the world. However, they weren't able to provide orbitable support due to the Conqueror and Abyssal class still being active. The ground war was extremely vicious and personal. The Ultramarines were all hardened veterans of Calth, many of them having killed traitor Space Marines personally, whilst the Wordbearer and World Eater forces were veterans of Isstvan and Armatura. Two elite armies clashed with endless hate, neither really managing to overwhelm the other. Angron had been lost to the nails entirely. He was screaming in pain as his brain matter leaked out of his nose. Today was the day he would die. His hope of a release from the nails shattered. Lorgar and Guilliman engaged each other in a duel. Guilliman punched Lorgar in the sternum, breaking his rib and puncturing his lungs. Lorgar hit Guilliman in the head with his Crozius, tearing off half his face, but Guilliman didn't seem to give a shit and kept coming. Angron then jumped into the fight, forcing Guilliman to fend off this much deadlier foe. That is when Lorgar realized what his final ritual would be to summon the Ruin Storm. If he channeled the Warp Song, the song created from the death screams of billions of innocents, he could ascend Angron to become a demon prince, saving Angron and creating the Ruin Storm in one go. He began the ritual. However, the World Eater Librarians as well as a World Eater Dreadnought tried to kill Lorgar to stop him from defiling their Primarch. Angron ceased his attack on Guilliman as he began to change and the world changed around him. It began raining blood and getting very apocalyptic. At that point, Guilliman was like, fuck this shit, and ordered a retreat. Probably a wise call. Lorgar is able to resist the Librarians and Dreadnought long enough for Angron's transformation to take place. The newly ascended Primarch then killed the Dreadnought and the Librarians. He had been saved from death, but was that really a good thing? The Nails ascended with Angron. He was still in agony, was even angrier, and was now completely insane. Thanks, Lorgar. The Ruin Storm was born, cutting off the Blood Angels, Ultramarines, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, and dozens of thousands more Loyalist Marines from the other legions on Terra, paving the way for Horus to begin his final siege. The Shadow Crusade was over. The Siege of Terra was to begin. Overall, a pretty devastating win for the traitors, but not a decisive one. Including the casualties at Calth, the traitors would have easily lost over 100,000 Space Marines and millions of mortal soldiers. They also lost a shitload of ships, including a Gloriana as well as an Abyssal class. However, the Ultramarines suffered worse, losing many worlds, a shitload of their legion, and most of their fleet. The traitors achieved their overall goal, the creation of the Ruin Storm. The Ruin Storm caused massive issues for the Loyalists, and alongside the Isstvan massacre was the greatest win for Horus during the heresy. It's cool to see a strong traitor victory, especially against the Ultramarines. Don't get many of those. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where there's not only a boatload of Battle Mace 40 million hentai, but also a bunch of live action nude cosplays. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more Crusade content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.